Sunrise Mall has seen better days, and some of the remaining businesses are opting to move out. Sunrise reporter Chelsea Torres is live this morning. Chelsea, tell us what is the latest there with the mall?
Well, Jen, right now, one of the local hotspots will actually be leaving Sunrise Mall this week, but the mall tells us they're not dying. They actually say there is plenty of work to be done. It's just a slow process.
Sometimes maybe a mall just should not be built. Hello, everybody. This is Anthony with Aces Adventures, and welcome to Corpus Christi, Texas, home of the now defunct and ever fading and deplorable Sunrise Mall. It's good to be back with you all. This is a bucket list mall for me that I have wanted to visit for a very long time, and circumstances finally came to pass where I was able to get all the way down damn near to Mexico. This place is pretty far away, but thankfully my job affords me the ability to get down to some of these locations at a pretty discounted price. But enough about that. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to talk to you about my experience in this mall and tell you a little bit about the history of Sunrise Mall and just some of the reasons why I said in the opening this mall should never have been built. So I am not local to Corpus Christi, so if anything is inaccurate, please feel free to correct me. So this mall was built shortly after another mall was built. There was a mall which is now called La Palmera, I believe, which is right across the street from the Sunrise Mall. That mall was built and planned in the 60s, and in the late 70s, they decided to build another mall. And now, like I had mentioned, if you're a local and you know what the exact logic behind this was, please let me know, because if there's one thing I've said over and over again, it's that malls do not last when an area is over-malled, i.e. Ohio, which is the king of dead malls because there's just one every 5 freaking miles. But so anyways, this mall never had a chance from the start. And even though it had a pretty good run in its first couple years, right off the bat, within the first couple years, one of the anchors, Frost Brothers, I believe it was called, closed, and the problem started right away. They had issues with just financial stuff and stores leaving and all that. It just never had a good run from the start. And even with the filming of the 1985 movie, The Legend of Billie Jean, apparently that did not do much for this mall either. Now, that movie is kind of a cult classic today, and it's not really a well-known mall, unless you're like a mall rat like myself. So, but at any rate, this mall never had good luck from the start, and like I mentioned, after a couple of good years, things started to go downhill. And then in 2008, they actually, things got so bad to the point where they were actually, the power was cut off to the mall because the owners were not keeping up with the property. So this mall never got its fair shake, so to speak. And then things change, times change, trends change, and you all know the all too familiar story of what happens to these places. As of right now, the mall, of course, is closed and abandoned, and it's been closed for a couple years now, and I wanted to get down here, but again, because it was so far away, it was difficult to get down here, and a mall kind of goes through its cycles, and in some cases, it's difficult to get into a property when it first closes. They're pretty heavily watched, and as I've said, my motto is I don't break into places. I still never have to this day. And to my surprise, when I came down here and had got some tips that it was available to get inside of, not only was I able to get inside with permission, but when I came inside the mall and I first walked in, I was like, holy shit, this place has gotten smacked hard. This is easily in my top 5 of worst places that I have ever seen in any of the malls that I have been to. The worst is still Jamestown Mall in St. Louis. Just the utter pure destruction there is just unfathomable. But this mall has been beaten to hell, so much so to the point where the top half of the mall, there is a long window and door section that is just blown right open to the outside. So the elements are definitely going to be a problem here. And it's crazy because as I'm muddling on here and talking about different things, as you're looking at this shot right now, there is an active Planet Fitness at the end of this mall. So can you imagine going to work out at this mall and looking out the windows there and just seeing like the apocalypse in the mall? So as I walked around here, like I said, I was just blown away by the devastation. Again, as I mentioned in the beginning, it's too much work to blur out all of the inappropriate images, so please just try to disregard those. I, of course, obviously don't condone any of those messages. There has been several attempts at fires in this place, and they've put those out. Thankfully, they've been nothing more than like brush fires. As you can see here, and we'll get more into this in a minute, we're passing an amazing, relatively intact Aladdin's Castle, the most intact one I have ever seen. And then also just narrating here as we're going along on the left side, and in a moment you're going to see a open anchor store with power and electricity and vandalism and water do not mix. So this place is most definitely a ticking time bomb. Now, there is a caretaker to this property. There is a lady who is watching this mall and doing her best to try to keep it from burning down. And I'm going to tell you that I have a lot of respect for her, and she's a very, very kind lady. And her and her 2 sons are trying to do their best to keep this property at least existing, is the best way I can describe it. But this place is just getting the hell beat out of it on a daily basis. It's like I said, in the top 5 worst malls that I have ever seen. So while I was inside the property here, the caretaker and her sons were working on a leaking water problem. Somebody, as I had mentioned, had set a fire in the mall, like the idiots that people can be. And one of her sons, when I tell you that he was literally like in an Amazon waterfall, like getting completely drenched by this burst pipe and sprinkler system that was going off. This poor guy is on a ladder, literally getting drenched, trying to put a spigot or some kind of an adhesive device. I don't know plumbing and stuff. So to stop this water from dripping into the mall, because as you're going to see in a little bit, I walk down this corridor, ruining my new shoes, by the way, and it's like a lake. It's literally like a lake. Now, I believe by the time I get close to the shot in the video, he has successfully turned it off, thankfully. But I mean, when I tell you, when I was first walking through that section of this mall, and it was literally like just a lake on the floor, and you could just hear the water just gushing out. I mean, it was absolutely surreal to witness this. And my mission has been to try to save these malls, but in some cases, and most definitely in the case of this mall, as unfortunate as it is to say this, the best course of action is just to bulldoze this thing to the ground. It's unfortunate, but this place is so far beyond repair, and it's only a matter of time before a serious incident happens here and somebody dies here or something along those lines. So the best course of action is just going to be to tear down this property, and it's very unfortunate because there are some pretty amazing things about this property. There's Aladdin's Castle, remnants here, which you'll see more of in a bit. Then there's lots of neon in this mall. There's this place called the Port right here. It's the neon and the waves. They're out of service, of course, but you can see as we're walking by right here. Lots of great aesthetics, colors, and just different unique features of the malls that we don't see anymore that are just going to be, unfortunately, rubble pretty soon. Now, I believe there is a bank that currently owns this mall as of the recording of this audio, and I don't know what their intentions are. I don't know what their plans are. I don't know. I'm just like at a loss for words, really, that these places can just get into such a derelict state. And as I had said before, it's one of the unique features about malls. It's one of the things that kind of like intrigues me to this genre. It's just the fact that it's like they can become so destroyed but just remain for so long because they're such massive properties. And it's either because they don't have the funds to demolish them, or in the case of Moonbeam, those scumbags, they are just hanging on to it for tax purposes. I believe, I don't know exactly how that works, but that would be my guess, is they're a write-off in some respects. So speaking of that, not to go off on a tangent, but some of you probably have heard a pretty horrifying incident just happened at Century 3 Mall in Pittsburgh, where a young 16-year-old student fell through the roof and is in the hospital with broken ribs and serious life-threatening or at least critical injuries to himself. So if you are watching this and you are an urban explorer, please, I beg you, do not go into these properties. They are extremely dangerous. I've done this for a while and know the proper precautions. I had protective booties on my feet. I had a respirator. I had my flashlight. I'm very well versed in this and have a good idea of at least what to avoid and all that. So it's never a good idea to come traversing through these places. Not only that, but you have gang activity, and you also have homeless people who tend to live in here. As a matter of fact, the caretaker of the property says that homeless people do frequent here, and they are harmless to her, so she lets them stay here. So that's probably not a good mix for you to want to bother somebody on their own makeshift home. So just rambling on here for a little bit longer, I'm going to let a lot of the natural ambience play in this video. I want you to experience the sounds and sights of this incredible mall, at least what's left of it. You can see here a small example of what you're going to see a much worse example of in a little bit here. The water is just, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. This is literally a lake in the mall. And making it even more interesting, the Burlington Coat Factory, their sign, somehow still has power on that side, and it was buzzing and flickering. And once again, you've got water and electricity, which do not mix, guys. I had actually stepped into the storefront here just to go around and try to get you guys a shot of this without getting my feet completely drenched, which I was unsuccessful at, and those shoes that I had are now no longer usable, but that's okay. It was worth it. This was a great explore. I'm very grateful that I got to see this mall. It's one that, like I mentioned, I've wanted to see for a very, very long time. It's got great aesthetics. The staircase, which you're going to see a little bit from the Legend of Billie Jean movie. This is going to make some of you say, what? But I actually have never seen that movie, and I am going to go watch it now. I actually, until Dan's video that he did here several years ago when this mall was opening and functioning, did not know about the Legend of Billie Jean movie. Like I mentioned, it's kind of a niche genre cult movie that I never knew about up until Mr. Bell showed us all of that. So that's really about it. I'm not going to dive deep into the history of this property. Like I said, I just kind of touched on some points because you guys know the story. It's just all too common. And I want you guys to enjoy the natural sights and sounds. Thank you once again to the property manager for letting me traverse through this and documenting it. And thank you to you for your efforts to do your best to at least keep this place, still existing to some level. Thanks for being patient with the content, guys. I'm going to do my best over the summer to keep it up as much as possible. And here, as we enter this lake, I want you to enjoy this crazy sounds, sights, and sounds. This is Anthony with Ace's Adventures, and we'll be back soon with more content. Enjoy the rest of the video.
Oh my God. I can't believe that. This is all just from that up there?
You going over that way?
Yeah.
Okay, buddy.
What's the best way?
Yeah, straight. If you go straight, go past the wall, and it
Okay.
goes off to your right.
Okay.
It's pretty easy.
Oh my God.
It'll get dry over there.
I can't believe this. I've never seen like this. That's it now. Oh my God. Holy shit. God. Holy shit. That's fucking incredible. Oh my God. Oh my god. Oh, gross. I'm not going in there. Fuck that. Oh. We'll just stand right here and look in. Oh my lord in the house.